Hello Model Railroaders, I'm Dave. Welcome back to the layout. Quick update on the pressure pot. I've made the cradle for the pot if I want to hold it in a horizontal position. And as you can see, the diameter of the pot is enough that I can get a small level in there to ensure that the platform that the mold will sit on will be level. The only negative drawback to running the pressure pot in a horizontal orientation is the taper on the inside here. The pot isn't the same width all the way to the back, and it is very difficult, I found, to get the shelf so that it is going to stay level both in the X and Z axis, I guess it is. I don't know. Both this way and this way. I guess that's X and Z. So I probably won't be using this orientation unless it's very much required. And what I plan on doing is where I've beveled at the back to account for the taper down the side of the, or the circumference, I should say, of the pot wall. I'll just put some felt on there, and that will be sufficient to help hold it where level is. Now, if you're going to make a shelf to put the pot in this orientation, remember to leave enough room here so that any obstructions on the bottom of the lid won't interfere with the shelf knocking it out of level as you place the lid on the pot. Now, the one brass fitting that I'm showing right there, that's actually a diffuser, so that as you can see the holes around the side of the fitting, so that the air doesn't come all out the opening that is in line with the bulkhead pass-through, that it'll actually diffuse and come out more to the sides. So that way, when the lid is on in this orientation, or even in this orientation, the air pressure, or the air that enters the pot to pressurize the pot, won't be blowing directly on the mold or the unset resin or UltraCal 30 that is in the mold. So just keep that in mind if you build your own pot. Now, for the orientation in the vertical position, I did make some shelves that will fit in there, and what I will do is I'll reposition the pot and bring you back in a moment and show you how these work. So, back momentarily. And we're back. So with the pot in the vertical position, as you can see, the bottom is rounded. And actually, let me show you the base of the pot, where you can even get a more up close and personal look at how the pot is rounded on the bottom. Oh, very heavy pot. Okay, so to make life easier, I've indicated which is the top of the bottom level of the plywood, and that just drops in like that. Now when I have the pot situated in a more permanent, or if I do plan on using it in whatever location that may be, I'm going to make sure, as you can see, it's nowhere close to being level sitting on this rolling box. So that would have to be dealt with. It's almost level in that direction, but definitely not in the opposite direction. So you'd want to ensure that the pot is on a level surface, and verify that the shelf that's being installed is level that you're going to put your molds on. So in this case, let me just reach over and let me grab a mold to put in there. So say I'm going to use multiple shelves, and I'm going to put that mold in and that mold in, and now I want to do another level. So I've just got 3 blocks of wood that I'm going to place in around the circumference of the pot wall, and then that will hold another level. And then I would verify again that I do have level in both directions off the top level, and then another mold could be placed on that shelf. Then the pot lid can be placed on and secured down on all 4 of the clamps. Then I would pressurize the pot up using a air compressor and tank up to 80 psi and turn it off, let it sit. Probably, if it is dealing with the resin, whatever the recommendation is on the resin to allow it to completely set up before it can be demolded. Myself, I'd probably give it an extra hour on top of what they recommend, just to ensure that everything is good to go. You don't want to be manipulating the mold and end up putting a bend in your casting if it is still a little soft. So my preference would be to let it go longer than what they recommend as the minimum amount of time. If I was casting UltraCal 30, I just let it sit in there overnight and pull it in the morning. And that should be sufficient. So hopefully you've gathered some information of how to generate or build / use a pressure pot. And once I've cleaned up my area, I'll bring on the next video with how I'm going to set up my mold forms around what I want to make molds of, and then we'll cast using the OMO 25 and create some molds, and then further go on to use the Smooth Cast 310 to cast in some plastic resin, and potentially some more UltraCal 30, depending on space availability. Now, just to bring you back, as you can see, what was a very dark gray casting before is dried out in the week plus since I've actually made this casting, it just takes time when you've got this much mass that needs to dry out. The other tank and the other stumps have all completely dried now. They are, like, that is very light, the stump, and now that the moisture has evaporated from the casting, so I'll be able to pull those up, though I'll just have the tanks just sit there for a little while longer, just to ensure that they are as dried as they can get before I'll attempt to paint them. An interesting technique, which I haven't tried yet, is to coat the inside of the mold with, say, a paint wash or an aerosol spray paint, and then to do your plastic or plaster addition to create your casting, and the paint will actually adhere to whatever material you're putting that is coating the mold, and act as a mold release, I guess, unless it bonds to the silicone. That may be something I'll try in the future, just to see how it goes, and to provide you with that information. Till the next video, I'm Dave. Bye for now.